Hi, welcome. This is the second episode of my vlog here, and I want to tell you a little story here at the end of this about when I felt really lost a few months ago and a revelation that I had. And I thought about putting it at the beginning, but I think it makes more sense in context at the end. So if you find this interesting, then stick around for that. Anyway, today we are talking about transformation and rebirth and how this is natural through awareness. So I just sat down at my new desk and wanted to write my vlog outline. My initial feeling is of resistance because I want to make sure today's version is as coherent as last week's. So here goes nothing, because my whole thing right now is basically doing the things that these voices in my head say. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, this is not the right time. Oh, you should get better. You should plan this out more. Don't just start talking to the camera. You shouldn't just write all this down. You should have a better plan. But anyway, this is me just doing it, right? That's part of this process that I'm in. This is this journey. So why I'm doing the vlog today? Well, because I'm on a journey. And this is my way of marking the trail that I'm making. So maybe you're in a similar place and looking to change your life, your unconscious habits, and your mind, like I am. And so if that sounds interesting to you, then then you might find these topics interesting. But I'm just sharing where I am in my life, where I want to be and where I'm going. So I've been journaling nearly every day for years. And this vlog feels like a natural progression because it's a way for me to actually share these thoughts that I have. So these are the ones that I've filled up over the last 3 or 4 years. And so I have been doing this for a while, and I feel like it's just at a point where I want to start bringing other people into the conversation and actually putting something out in the world where people can give me feedback and where I can hear other people's thoughts and maybe even provide some little bits of awareness that can help you. So this week I want to talk about a few things. Uber Boyo, which is a YouTube channel that I love, and mentalism, and this book that I'm reading, Psycho-Cybernetics. So, so with Uber Boyo, I want to talk about, I've got to stop prefacing things like that, I think. But this is the voice in my head going, oh, you got to say it like this. You can't do it like that. You got to say it like this. But Uber Boyo. I watched last night a video about Uber Boyo where he was talking about Jung and the unconscious, Carl Jung, and how he was basically aware of the fact that we have this discrepancy between these two hemispheres of our mind. Not just our mind, but literally our brain. And he was talking about, Uber Boyo was talking about how Jung was talking about these things in terms of conscious versus unconscious before we even had the neuroscience of realizing and had done all these split brain surgeries in California in the 1900s, I think. And when we started to realize that you essentially have two different personalities inside of your own brain. One side of your brain is the one that speaks, and that it's the language part of your brain. I've got a feather on me. And the other side is the unconscious, is the one that can only speak through symbol and through metaphor and through feeling. And how he was talking about how Carl Jung had this patient who came in, and she was very depressed and felt stuck. And she was sort of an accountant type person, very left brain, as we would now say, very by the books, between the lines. And so he had her start painting, and she started painting all these things which were actually very symbolic and reflected these archetypes. And this is not a woman who was aware of these things. This was a woman who, like I said, was a more accountant, kind of straight down the line type person. She was not somebody who studied the mind or psychology. And so, but she started producing through her paintings unconsciously all these symbolic things, showing herself trapped in the rocks. Eventually, her paintings began showing herself coming out of the rocks. It showed herself. She started painting snakes, symbols of power, symbols of power, of change, and how she started painting eggs and these symbols of like potential and like transformation, becoming something else. And eventually, once she started to actually develop, once she started to develop some consistency and coherence with her painting, she eventually just started painting circles, and which Carl Jung would have been excited about because they are basically mandalas, and mandalas are the circle, and with like the square, it's essentially a symbol of order, and it's the way that the mind maps order in the world. And so her unconscious went from showing herself depicted in this trap state to being freed and having agency, and eventually transforming, and then finally what her unconscious began producing was order. And this came through giving the unconscious a voice and the ability to express itself. And by expressing itself, she now had something to reflect upon. She now had something that she could look at, which is essentially a mirror of her unconscious state. And through that mirror, something that came from her unconsciously, she was able to then change herself and transform her mind, and achieve a greater sense of order in herself. And I thought that was really interesting, because it's really this awareness thing that I want to talk about today, and that is on top of my mind today, because you know, the principle of mentalism is something that a lot of different people talk about. There's a lot of esoteric writing on it. There are a lot of YouTube channels that kind of go into this and that talk about mentalism as being something like a way of transforming the world. And obviously, if you're sort of a more culturally integrated person, a more logical, rational person, typically you're going to think that you don't have the ability to actually influence reality with your consciousness. But something I've been thinking about is how the mind does create reality, and there's the scientific and neurological side of this, which is the fact that and you can see more and more studies now that are showing that the brain creates your reality, actually mostly using a predictive model of reality. Your brain is actually, in order to get ahead of what is actually happening in the physical now, your brain is actually creating, and in anticipation of what is coming, a sense of reality based on, oh, it seems like these things are happening like this. Oh, if this is happening like this, then likely this is what's about to happen. And so most of what we experience consciously or unconsciously, both, are actually our brain projecting onto reality, and not just the and that brain projection is essentially passing through the medium of all of our lived experiences which have come before. And so this projection is what we actually experience as our reality for the most part, unless you're actually more in like a meditative state in which you're just being aware of physical things like smells and sights and sounds and sensations. Because those things, those raw data points, while they are actually useful and they do inform our experience, they are not the thing that we experience first and foremost, because we're experiencing a mental projection of reality which our mind is generating for us using a predictive model. And so most of what we experience is not just the sensorial. We expect that just because our brain is constantly absorbing all this information, that we are experiencing what is happening, but we are really mostly experiencing what is happening inside of us. And so that's kind of that brings me to like the metaphysical side of it, which is how a change in focus creates a change in action, and a change in action creates a change in physical reality. And that's a feedback loop that continues based on the new focus. So, like I said, because we're mostly experiencing this projection of reality, when you change your focus on what you're thinking about and what you are valuing and what you want to value in your life, we are actually creating a new point of attention by which our brain is going to create that projected reality. And Ian McGilchrist is somebody who talks a lot about this, which is how your focus, and I mean, pretty much everybody says this, but like your focus kind of creates your reality. And the reason your focus creates your reality is because where your attention is where your attention is determines the information that your brain values or ignores. And so by giving yourself a new focus, by giving yourself a new goal, what you're actually doing is you're actually creating a new point of attention for yourself to build your model of reality around. So new things are going to pop into your experience and your awareness, new opportunities, new things. So even if you remove all the metaphysical stuff, which comes from, which is connected to a lot of the ideas of mentalism, even if you remove a lot of these metaphysical things of vibration and changing all these things, even if you just get into the hard kind of scientific understanding that we have of the way that your brain works, what's happening is when you put your attention on a new thing, it's actually changing the model of reality that is being presented to you. And so like I said, that change in focus is going to create a change in awareness. And that change in awareness is going to create a change in action, because you're going to be reacting to new things that you previously were not aware of, because your focus was not such that those things would penetrate your unconscious patterns. And so then by changing your reaction to the things that you are experiencing, the information that's coming in, you are going to be changing your physical reality. And so, because you're going to be doing things differently. So changing your focus is literally going to change your lived experience. It's literally going to change the physical shape of your world. Like I wanted to furnish my office here. This camera is sitting on a shelf that I just picked up last night. So, those are simple little things, but my physical reality has been changed because I had a focus of, well, I know what I want my office to be like. I want it to be like this sooner than later. So I'm going to find these things in the world, and that created a physical change. So literally just by changing my focus, that's just a very simple example, but just by changing your focus, you are actually changing your physical reality as well. And that leads me now to the other thing that's on my mind today, which is that I've been going through the book Psycho-Cybernetics. And I unfortunately can't remember the author of that book. Malt, I think it is. And I don't want to talk too much about it because it still is something that I'm going through. And so there's kind of like a personal element of that, which I, basically want to kind of preserve for myself, because I want to experience it kind of in a personal way without bringing a lot of the skepticism that I project onto things by way of putting it in front of other people. But there are a few things that I did want to share about that because they're on my mind today, which is, talking about what we just said about the change in focus creates a change in physical reality. So it's our unconsciousness that creates the patterns in our life. And so our unconscious patterns, which is what the left brain does when it takes over and basically begins to order the things. When you learn a new skill or something, the left brain takes over and it becomes something that you don't think about. It becomes a pattern that you follow unconsciously. And so these patterns create our life. And the big thing that I'm taking away from Psycho-Cybernetics, which is not even the main focus of the book, but it's something that has become very loud to me as I go through is just how the change in your awareness is what the change in your awareness is what creates the change in your life, because this happens naturally. Um, and so that brings me to, I'm going to put a pin in that because I want to come back to it, but that brings me to um, what I want, and where I am and what I'm doing and why. So I'm going to come back to that thing about psycho-cybernetics, but what I want is to be living comfortably with enough time and energy to share, to create the things that I want to share with the world, like this. And so a lot of the things in my physical world have not really changed. I mean, they have. I guess they really have. But my financial situation has not been made overtly manifest in the physical dimension. But I will say this: I woke up today and felt, meaning I unconsciously or naturally thought, life is so amazing. What a wonderful gift and experience. It is so awesome to be here and to be alive. And 6 months ago, I would have been saying that to myself out loud, and I was saying that stuff to myself out loud, but it was through conscious faith. It was me saying it because I knew it. I knew it was true, and because I felt that way before, but it wasn't how I felt. I felt, oh, hopeless. I can't do anything. I don't know what's the best path. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't know what I need to do. I don't know what I want. Blah, 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 blah. But I was saying these type of affirmations to myself of saying, man, how wonderful life is. It's so good to be here. It's so exciting to be alive. But it wasn't how I felt. And today I realized that was my natural reaction to life. That was what happened to me unconsciously as I lived. I just got ready this morning and I went, man, I was watching a video about mentalism, and I was going, man, how exciting is it to be here and to be a part of this thing that's happening and to be able to create things and put things into the world and generate change in my life and to be on this journey, you know? And that was my feeling. My feeling was, how exciting is this? And so it wasn't something that I had to impress upon myself. It was something that I had impressed upon myself, but now it was something that my mind unconsciously took ownership of and gave to me. And it has become the way that I feel. And that was something that I was really, really grateful for today. And so based on what I want and where I am, what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So I'm doing affirmations every day. So this is me changing the habitual script in my mind. I'm changing the unconscious voices which run in the background. So this brings me back to the psycho-cybernetics thing about being aware of things, because these doing affirmations and creating visualizations and creating things for yourself to visuals and mental experiences and imaginations for you to compare yourself, because basically what you're doing is you're creating a model against which to compare your current thinking, your present thoughts, your present sensations, your present reality. And that discrepancy in your mind is allowing you to zero in on what it is that you actually want and where you want to be going. And so this new voice, by doing affirmations, creating this new voice, this script, which becomes, unconscious. I am happy, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am wise, I am grateful, I am loving, I am generous, I am kind. That to me defines success. I am happy, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I'm wise, I'm grateful, I'm loving, I'm generous, and I'm kind. Like, if I am all of these things, I'm successful. And so that's my mantra every day. And so by giving myself that script, what I'm doing is I'm changing the voice that's running in the background. This is how I am. This is how I am. This is how I am. And so creating that new voice is what it's doing is it's creating a new model for the other voices in your mind to respond to. If you don't consciously create the voice you want to run your life, you will be at the mercy of the voices which echo from memory and experience. And so I realized many times throughout Psycho-Cybernetics so far, it's a 10-hour audiobook I'm listening to, and I'm like 7 hours in. And one of the big things that I've been taking away from it is realizing how all these voices that run in your mind of, excuse me, can I do this? If I do this, will that work? What about this? What about this? Do I want this? Do I want that? Most of these voices that run in your mind, unless you have put them there or have had really good, well, I mean, not even really good ones, it doesn't matter, good or bad. Most of these voices that are in your mind are actually other people's voices. They're the voice of a teacher that you had. They're the voice of a friend that you had, or a friend that you had. They're the voice of an ex. They're the voice of some guy on the street who didn't like the way that you were dressed. It's like all these things, these voices, you go, oh, well, that guy said I looked like an idiot. Oh, this, when I did that, these people thought this. And a big part of Psycho-Cybernetics is realizing how much of our mind is built on the memories of past experiences and how we create these barriers for ourselves based on our perceived failures and errors, and how important it is to separate your identity from the mistakes and the choices that you've made in the past, which led to errors. And so that's, you might have noticed this, but this is why I drew this little model here, because this is your origin point. This is where you are, and this is where you want to be. So by acknowledging where you are, it gives you the ability to orient yourself in relation to a desired goal. And so a desired goal is something which you are, it's the thing at, Jordan Peterson talks about this. It's like, he has a really great series on Pinocchio, where he talks a lot about what this is like consciously, and not psychotically, but like, mentally, and yeah, psychologically, that's the word. So psychologically, the thing that you want is the thing that gleams. And that's like, when you wish upon a star, it makes no difference who you are. So, the thing is it doesn't matter who you are, because you are wherever you are. But when you see the thing that gleams to you, that's what calls to you. And Psycho-Cybernetics talks a lot about how we have this thing in our mind basically called he calls it the servo mechanism, which is essentially the unconscious programming running in your mind that is looking at reality, filtering reality, and helping you get where you want to go. And so he compares that a lot to like a guided missile system. And he talks about how a guided missile doesn't just go, oh, I know where the missile's going to be, so I'm going to go there. And it doesn't go in a straight line. It doesn't launch immediately, just boom, I'm going to hit it right here, bang. What it does is it constantly course corrects these guided missile systems in order to intercept missiles, or even a guided missile that's trying to get somewhere. What they do is they constantly zigzag through the air because they're creating a prediction, and they're going, oh, no, it's not over there. Oh, nope, that's not over there. Oh, I'm going too far this way. Oh, the wind is too much like this. I need to go like this. I need to go like this. And so this model, I think, is a really helpful way to visualize what it's actually like in the intermediary journey toward our desired goal, because it doesn't look like a straight line. It looks like I'm right here, and this is where I want to be. And so all these voices that we hear in our life and all these responses and reactions to the things that we experience, even if they are negative, they're actually helping us course correct. And so if you have voices in your head that are helping you course correct, that's useful. If you have voices in your head that are telling you to give up and stop, that is not useful, because that is basically saying, I'm not even going to hit it. I'm not even going to go anywhere. And that's useless. So yeah, these voices in your head, and for example, I experienced one of these the other day. I yelled at myself in the mirror the other morning because I had a voice in my head that, as I was going through my affirmations and thinking about my day and visualizing things, I had a voice in my head that said, and it kind of took the form of like YouTube comments or like smart, successful people. Like this was how I was hearing the voice in my mind. And I heard the voice and it said, you know, everyone who's actually capable of success wouldn't need to do any of this stuff. This is all this stuff you're doing, these self-help things and these mental models and all this stuff. This is all just hokey grifting from people looking to make money off of saps like you who don't have anything and want more. And so I yelled at that voice and I literally told it to fuck off and leave my body and my mind, and that it has no place here, and that it is no longer welcome to live inside of me. And I was actually like really livid. As soon as I realized this voice was happening, I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, hey, fuck off. You are not welcome here. And I did this until I felt like I had kind of expressed it and sort of exorcised the voice from my mind, because I wanted to make that voice feel small. I wanted to say, hey, dude, you know, this is something in psycho-cybernetics he talks about, which is if you hear a thought that a belief, like a false belief in your mind, get angry about it. Like allow yourself to have an emotion about it, because that's going to actually enable you to make a change and pivot around that thing, because you're going to focus on it and make sure that it knows that it's a small, stupid voice. And so I told it to fuck off and that it was no longer welcome to live inside of me. And when I was finished with this, like, you know, yelling at myself in the mirror or that voice in the mirror, I in the past, I might have laughed after doing something so dramatic alone in the bathroom because, you know, to an outsider, maybe it would have looked really absurd, but I didn't feel humorous about it at all. And the reason is because to me, it was really serious, because that voice literally, if you think about every voice in your head has a goal. Every belief in your mind has a goal. Every idea that you hold has a goal. But you can't have an idea that does not have an intrinsic objective, because what a belief or an idea or a voice in your head is doing is it is giving you a value structure, and a value structure has to be based on objectives. And so that goal, that voice in my head literally had the goal of making me give up and quit trying to improve my life. And as soon as I realized that, that's what gave me the peace to make the decision to tell it to fuck off, because I realized, you know, even if this voice is right, even if I can't change, even if I can't make my life better, why would I live that way? Why would I let myself lay down and die? Even if I can't change, what a waste of a life to just lay down and die. And how dare that voice think that it has a right to speak to me that way? And I mean, even now, there's a cat. Even now, I feel that anger at that voice, but that anger at that voice is what's going to allow me in the future to have that reaction when a voice like that pops up in my head. I'm going to say, hey, dude, no, I know who you are, and you are useless to me. Because the idea, even if it's true, even if I can't make my life 1% better, or 100% better, or 1,000 times better, even if I couldn't do that, what a useless thing to go, oh, well, yeah. Self-help is all hokey scam garbage. I might as well just accept things the way they are and just stop. It's like, what a stupid way to live. And so if this stuff is useful to me, I might as well pursue it, you know, because it is helping me. And so psycho-cybernetics has made me see that awareness alone is actually what creates the transmutation. Because once the idea has entered your mind, you have no choice but to deal with it. So once you've become aware of something new, you have no choice but to confront it and to react based on that. So one by one, new unconscious beliefs are becoming apparent to me. And each time I'm forced to go, okay, where does that belief lead me? What is the objective of that belief? What is the objective of that value structure? What is the objective of that voice in my head? Does it take me closer to the life that I want or further away? And naturally, by keeping and clarifying the vision of who and what and where I want to be in my life, it allows these false beliefs to fall away naturally, easily, and effortlessly. Because even the effort and the energy that I put towards them in order to change my mind, in order to change my state, even these things, that energy and effort comes as a natural response to the new information that I've been made aware of. And so it's action leading to new awareness, and it's a change in focus leading to action, leading to new awareness, and therefore changing unconscious beliefs. So I posted my first vlog last week, and both of my parents found it and ended up watching it. And my dad gave me some feedback on it, on the format. He liked the format. And he also asked me to reconsider using the word try, because I had mentioned that my new daily short script belief that I was saying every day was, what I want, I get. When I do, I win. And when I try, I succeed. And he said that he liked Yoda's line in Star Wars, do or do not. There is no try. And so do or do not. There is no try. And at first I resisted making that change. I thought, at first I didn't even remember that he was commenting on that I had, because I forgot that I said that script in the video. And then I realized, I think he was referencing that script that I said about the try part. So I did change, I resisted making the change because it felt good for me as an affirmation. And it felt useful and it moved me forward. But I decided to allow the belief to be challenged. So I put something out there, and I got feedback on it. So I changed the phrasing to, what I want, I get. When I do, I win. There is no try. I only succeed. And so I kind of changed that dynamic of that last line to be a little bit more of kind of a general philosophy referencing to the first two. What I want, I get. When I do, I win. Because there is no try. I only succeed. At first, I felt like it was more useful because I was like, well, I want to be able to feel like when I try that I know I'm going to succeed. But what I did was I just went, okay, this is sort of a button philosophy to kind of, so it changed the dynamic of the affirmation, but I felt like it was useful. And so even though I received pushback on that belief by putting it out into the world and saying, hey, this is what I'm saying to myself, which is kind of a vulnerable and embarrassing thing to do. Even though I received pushback on that, by putting it out in the world through action, I was able to grow more, because even at that time, it was useful in its former form because it got me where I needed to go. And this brings me to the last little story that I wanted to tell you. I mentioned at the beginning. Because a couple months ago, I felt really lost. And I asked myself, how do I know which way is the right way? I was just like, where do I even go? What do I want? What should I do? And I was like, how do I know where I ultimately want to be? Because the way my mind works is like, I don't want to go, I need to get this type of work and then do this kind of job and develop this kind of a skill. Like, I want to know the ultimate value. I want to know, where do I really want to be in my life? Because that's going to determine, once I know that perfect format of exactly who I want to be and where I want to be and everything I want in my life, then I will know how to map myself to it. But what I realized, and the answer came as soon as I asked the question of how do I know which way is the right way? The answer came instantly in my head. And the answer was, anything that you can currently see or currently desire. Anything that you can currently see or currently desire, that is the right goal. So anything that you can currently see or currently desire, that is the right goal. Because it's like standing at the foot of a hill in a valley and you can't see any mountains and you're going, I don't want to climb any hills, I want to climb a mountain, but I don't see any mountains. And you're sitting there at the bottom of this hill and you're going, Well, I know that in my life, if I only knew which mountain to climb, if I only knew which one I wanted to be, I would know which way to go. I would know what action to take. I would be able to orient myself better in relation to it. But I'm sitting here in this valley and I don't see any mountains. So like, where do I go? What do I do? But you're at the bottom of a hill. So, so you're sitting there complaining that you want to climb a mountain, but what you actually need to do is allow yourself the humility of going towards that first mediocre, short term, maybe, this goal that's maybe even in the wrong direction. Because it's only by walking up that hill that you can better see the next steps of your journey. Because when you get up the hill, you're going to have a better view, and that really kind of shaped all of this new trajectory for me, because I just have to go to the next thing that I can see. And Jordan Peterson talks about this as well, if you're interested in that. He talks about it in his psychology lectures. But if you just do the one thing that you know you can do, if you do the one thing that you know is possible, then by doing that, this is all kind of leading back into the general thing of this, by taking the action, by taking the step, you are changing your position. And by changing your position, you're changing your orientation. And by changing your orientation, you're going to change your awareness. And by changing your awareness, you're going to change your actions and your reactions. And you're going to better be able to course correct yourself on this journey from where you are to where you want to be. And so go up the hill, get a better view. Your journey unfolds. The path reveals itself naturally. Thank you very much. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for spending time with me. I will talk to you guys soon. Love you.